Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Extremity. Your past truly comes back to haunt.
Directed by Anthony DiBlasi, starring Dana Christina, Dylan Sloan, and Chad Rook. This movie is about Allison, a horror fan who decides to participate in an extreme haunt to try and get over some of her fears and put the bad shit behind her. Unfortunately, this haunt is a little more extreme than she anticipated, and it may just unlock some of her own inner demons. Now, what do we like?
I like the location of this movie. The idea of extreme haunts and how they're trying to make it as real as possible. I thought the film did a good job. You have our character Allison, who's just in an abandoned building and is brought from place to place, not knowing where she is. And that's what kind of builds the tension up in the film, is each room we don't know what we're going to expect, and it makes us feel as though we're participating as she is.
Right, and everything looks great. The lighting, I think, is some of the best that I've seen in an indie feature, to be honest. Because there are so many different rooms and different things happening, everything is lit completely different, with either really stark contrasting, like hyper vibrant red and purple lights, or maybe it's like a black light hallway, or just even how things are lit from scene to scene that's not like a crazy abstract lighting. Everything looks great, and the cinematography is also extremely well done. This does not seem like an indie horror movie, even though it is. The production value is very, very high.
I liked our haunties.
Yes, the skulls.
The skulls?
Oh, I'm a huge fan of Skull Lady.
Yes.
Holy. I'm not even into like dominatrix shit, but I honestly, if I signed that waiver and she said get naked, I said, yep, here you go. We fucking Bruce Almighty that shit and clothes her off.
You gotta hope that her clothes come off too.
I'm doing what she says. I'm the sub in this situation, John.
What if you're in like the peeping room?
If I'm in the peeping room, I'm jerking the thing. How do we segue from that one, John?
We segue to Beard Skull. Our skulls were pretty cool, even like our head skull, the red skull.
He is running a haunt that is trying to, really pry at somebody's psyche and unlock some deep emotional shit. Well, in an attempt to make people better or trying to soothe them of their pain, the acting I thought was pretty decent. I enjoyed our main lead. There are spotty times where she's not the best, but for the most part, I think that she did a pretty good job. She has to deal with a lot of things, and so she goes from being very normal to kind of getting inside of her own head and trying to, just like the audience, figure out what's happening and what's real, what's not. And then there's also a lot of physically demanding things because she is being tortured while she's here. We don't want to spoil anything and we don't want to talk about the end, but I think the last part of this movie is really good.
I actually want to see Fatal Blood. They had this like fake movie in this movie, and it had like LaRose was in it, the Greasy Strangler. We have all these people in this little tiny short film that like the characters are watching, and it looks awesome.
And they also had like fake haunts too, which had Tiffany Shepis in it, which was awesome. And on the Blu-ray, like all the other Dread Presents movies, they have a ton of special features, lots of behind the scenes. And we watched 3 shorts, but one's only like 2 minutes, another one's 2 minutes, and one's 6 minutes. But full movies of those. The Lipstick Killer, let's get it.
Yeah.
Now, what didn't we like?
I wasn't a big fan of the overall pacing of this film. It was very off, and I think a lot of it has to do with the constant flashbacks. It's just all over the place, and when you're trying to like focus on the haunt, I don't necessarily care what's happening in the flashbacks.
And it's not a very complex backstory. A girl is abused, obviously in a strange way, to create some different things that she's gonna have to deal with in the haunt. But you learn that very, very early on. I mean, it's almost always assumed, if you've ever watched a horror movie that has a drunk father in it, it's sexual abuse. But they like held that little nugget of information back as some kind of reveal later on, and I don't think they should have. Like, we got it.
And they just like kept throwing this demon in there, like her inner demons, like an actual entity, and her being placed inside of like the horror movies that she watches. Like, there was a lot of interesting choices that I don't think added to the movie, but made it a little more confusing.
Saying it's confusing is not really the right word. I would say it's just not necessary, because we understood that this is a girl that had problems of some sort and she's trying to deal with them now. That's basically all you really need. And I think they just didn't think the audience would get that. But it was pretty black and white to me. I kind of mentioned this with our leads acting. I don't think the acting in general was that great. There are moments where things are believable, but there are way more moments where you're gonna say, hey, this is some indie stuff here.
And what really add to the fakeness of the film, we had these two characters who were just placed to film everything and interview everyone. And it just kind of like took the mood of what was supposed to be scary and tense and got rid of it.
Because about halfway through, they're interviewing the scare actors.
It gives me more of an opportunity to express myself artistically.
From then on, when you see more skull people, you're like, I don't care.
When it comes to haunts, I have a bit of an expectation of what they should be, but I didn't really feel like this one in particular was necessarily scary.
Everything was too open. Like, there's no really confined spaces. And even when people do jump out, the corridor is so wide. Like, if you actually just didn't walk near the walls, nobody could grab you.
But like, also they had like the peep show. Like, that's not scary or intimidating.
Yeah, it's not. It was less like a haunt, more like a seedy strip club.
I mean, when you have like Sexy Skull walking around,
everything looks a little bit sexier, I guess. Maybe everything was too well lit. You don't feel the tension. And especially when your main character has claustrophobia, you think that it's going to play into the setting a little bit more, but unfortunately it doesn't. It plays a very small role. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. I enjoyed this movie. It is a little bit slower paced than I thought it would be, and the location was a little bit too open to the point where it didn't feel like a haunt movie, but there are fun aspects of it, such as the haunters themselves and the roles that they play. I enjoyed the story and I really enjoyed the third act, but I do think things could have been tightened up both in the literal sense as far as the space is concerned, as well as the pacing. In general though, I think this is a pretty solid movie, so I would recommend it. So I'm gonna give this 3 bathroom stalls that are lit exactly like my Twitch streams out of 5.
I really do have a soft spot for haunt movies, and I was excited going in to see Extremity because I was looking forward to a creepy, scary haunt experience. But this film didn't deliver that, and it did suffer a lot with its pacing. This film just had way too many flashbacks, too much exposition when we didn't actually need it, but the location itself was really cool. The characters, they did a good job and they were believable, and I really did enjoy the final act in this film. It's well executed and well done, and it does deliver, but it takes a lot to get to, and I can see why not everyone's gonna enjoy this film. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 2 shirts from Target out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.